Welcome to Deepr Talk. I'm your host, Austin Webster. I'm the founder and CEO of Deepr. Today, we are joined by a special guest, Miss Ebonie Smith. Welcome, Ebonie.
Hi, Austin. Thank you. It's good to be here. Excited to chat today.
Yeah, Ebonie, I've been wanting to talk with you on Deepr Talk for a while now because we have something in common. We're both from Memphis, Tennessee, which is the 901. So always good to have someone from my hometown doing great things in music to be able to go deeper with. So thank you.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad to be here as well. And yeah, I mean, the Memphis connection, we were introduced through a mutual friend. And I was really excited to learn about everything you have going on with Deepr. So this only feels right.
Most definitely. So Ebonie, obviously, I want you to kind of tell the people. I mean, you're a woman of many talents and doing some great things. Like I said, in the music industry. To share a little bit about yourself. I want you to kind of communicate what you do because it's everything.
Okay, so the first and foremost is I work as an engineer and a producer. So I work for Atlantic Records as their chief in-house engineer in their New York studio. It's a very large label and large company, so we have studios all over the world. I'm in charge of one of the studios in New York, where I function as primarily the liaison between the artist and the technology. So when they come in, they can expect to have a certain level of service that is necessary to help us get the job done, to get the records done. I've had an opportunity to work with quite a bit of the roster, past and present. Everybody from Cardi B to Janelle Monáe to Jason Mraz to Lin-Manuel Miranda had an opportunity to work on the Hamilton Cast album. So I've been able to work on a broad array of tracks across different genres and also across different artists. On the side, which doesn't really feel like the side at all, I run a nonprofit called Gender Amplified, which supports the advancement of women in music technology and in the recording arts. Essentially, I started that in 2006, 2007 as a complement to my thesis project on women producers in hip hop. I was really interested in women in that space, whether or not they even existed. And for those who were there and active, the type of music they were making, and also creating bridges between women working in the genre who maybe did not know each other. So Gender Amplified started in that spirit. It started as an academic inquiry and it turned nonprofit. And today we do everything from maintaining a blog and social media presence, highlighting women in music production, to running production camps. We actually have a camp this week in Atlanta that will feature Wande, who's a gospel hip hop artist and signed to Reach Records, which is Lecrae's label. So she's partnered with us to bring more women into the camp and non-binary individuals into the camp as well. So we reach our goals in a lot of different ways, but here, as in the last couple, because of COVID-19 and so forth, we've really been focused on online programming, and this will be our first physical event.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm just so impressed by how you wear so many hats and you do everything to excellence, Ebonie. So one of the cool things I've always been fascinated by, and I would love for you to share your story. How did you go from Memphis, Tennessee, East High School, to now working at Atlantic Records, having your own nonprofit? How did you get from Memphis to your destination now?
Well, it all started with education. I was an optional program student at East High School, and for those that aren't familiar with the optional program, it's an advanced classes for public school students that we have in Tennessee and Memphis. And I was an optional program student. I took all my APs, and I spent every summer at Andover in Massachusetts at Phillips Academy studying math and science there. So when I got to Barnard College, which is, for those who don't know, it's the women's college associated with Columbia University, I was doing really well in my math and science classes. I aced stats at Columbia my first year. And I realized very quickly that music was a passion, but I didn't necessarily see myself being a singer or a rapper. I wasn't really interested in the more performance-based aspects. But when I realized that there was a marriage of technology and music by way of audio, music technology, music production, computer programming, I was all about that. Audio theory, audio technology. I was like, okay, that's a lane that I can get into. One thing led to another. Education was still the primary entry point. I graduated from Barnard in 2007, and I went straight into a master's program at NYU in music technology, where I worked at the Clive Davis Department of Recording Music as a production tech and a production assistant, while also taking graduate classes. And from there, after graduating from NYU, it took about 2.5 years. I made my way into the business of just hustling, working odd jobs, producing artists on the side, working regular day jobs. And eventually there was a job that came up for Atlantic, and I applied and got the job.
Wow. Wow. I love that.
And that was 2013. So
Okay.
it was about 6 years of schooling, and then maybe like a couple years of hustling.
Yeah.
Just working in the city, just being persistent and following up on every lead and networking and meeting people and getting my name around. And it was around the same time that I started to throw additional gender amplified events, because we did one event while I was still in school, but I cooled it for all of grad school. I didn't do very many events in grad school, but after grad school, it was around like 2013, I did a festival. And that was something that it got some pretty cool press. We got in the Huffington Post. We got on Madame Noir. And that was one of the things that helped to move my name around a bit. And I think Atlantic was impressed with that.
Yeah.
Because my boss, when he interviewed me, he was basically like, I was just glad to see that you were doing something bigger than yourself. And you also had engineering chops and production chops. And so that was attractive to the label.
I love that. I love that. One of the things, Ebonie, I definitely want to touch on, talk a little bit about Scratch Magazine and what that's meant to you as you were growing
Scratch
up.
Magazine?
Yeah.
Right. Scratch was this magazine that was all about producers, and specifically hip hop producers. And it didn't last very long. Once I found it, it was pretty much on its way out. I think there are probably a handful of issues left, but it just wasn't surviving, because production is niche. It really is. I think that you've seen, with the growth of the super producer, but also with the growth of these technologies that allow anybody to access beat production software, I think with the advancement of that, you've seen music production take off. But at the time, the layman really didn't care very much about it. It was mostly, the focus was always on the artist. For the issues that I did read, I found it very, very inspiring. And it was all about producers. And there were some women that were profiled too. I remember the first time I learned about DJ Coco Chanel.
Yeah.
She was producing for like Saigon and some other hip hop artists. And I remember thinking like, oh, that's cool. I learned about like Ty Phoenix, and I was like, this is cool. Like, these women are dope. Like, they're DJ Diamond Cuts. I was like, oh snap. Like, you know, I was like, okay, like this is a thing. And it wasn't a lot of real estate in the magazine dedicated to these women, but they did get some shout outs. And I was very impressed by that. And that was something that was very inspiring to me in the very beginning, in addition to the magazine being largely about gear and the gear that producers used in hip hop, right? Because now what's left are all the trade magazines that are dedicated to maybe EDM or dedicated to more traditional forms of recording, like Tape Opt. But I don't know that there's been a magazine that has stepped up, and like, well, magazines are hard anyway, but these days, but a magazine, a periodical that has stepped up and taken the place of Scratch. I don't think there's anything out there, digital or otherwise, that was what Scratch was to the community. And it was very underground, and it was kind of like you had to be in the club type of thing to know about scratch. So that
Yeah.
was early. That was early. That was some of my early indoctrination, my early education.
Yeah, scratch was awesome. I don't know if he knows about me. At one point in my life, I tried to be a beat maker as well. That was my first foray into music, and I
Right,
loved Scratch magazine because it was like the Source meets the Slam magazine of just beat makers and production and hip hop. I
right.
even found a way to order a bunch of backlogged magazines from previous editions and got them all shipped to me. So I had like all
Really?
this big collection of Scratch magazines, and I was
Oh
studying them.
wow, that's so
That's
cool. Do you
that's how I
have them
learned about.
still?
No, I don't have. that
Oh
that was a
wow.
form of life. But now, doing Deepr and launching this company has been my connection to music and getting to talk to just talented individuals like yourself. I live vicariously through you. So yeah. So obviously, music is a big part of your life. One of the songs that when we had a conversation, one of the big things that you talked about was just Marvin Gaye all the way around. So what I want to do is play you a little bit of that first, and then we can have a conversation about it.
All right.
But how you gonna act this time around? Before we take it off down to the skin, let's get an understanding. Girl, you didn't understand my philosophy. You did not understand. You just ran.
So great song. Anything in Marvin's catalog is, iconic and just a level of musicians on the track in itself is just like the glory days. What about this song just really inspired you?
Well, I was always been a big fan of the album. I actually have a print of the cover art, the Ernie Barnes cover art on it. I've always been a fan of the album. I listened to it for a very long time. It was in high school that I started to get into Marvin Gaye, into the various albums, and I Want You was one of my favorites. And All the Way Around was pretty much like an album cut on there. And I was a very big fan of Leon Ware, just as a songwriter and a producer. And in grad school, we had an assignment in one of our classes, in music production classes, where we had to listen to a song, pick a song we could listen to a lot. And I picked this one, and I think I listened to it about 100 times.
Wow.
The goal was to do deep listening, where we're trying to basically discover all the nuances in the track that are just very difficult to hear without listening intentionally and without listening multiple times intentionally. So I picked this song, and I remember sitting in the library. I don't remember what library it was, but I remember the desk. I remember the desk very well because I sat there for a very long time. And I just picked out layers upon layers upon layers. And there's so much in this track. I mean, there is an exponential amount of things going on that are barely audible, that if you listen deeply and with a lot of intention, you can hear all the various layers. And for me, that's a production tactic. It's something that makes Marvin Gaye's music so timeless. I mean, there's him, obviously. He's the centerpiece.
Yeah, no, Marvin, obviously, he had different, I say, eras of his sound and his music, but he was always pushing the boundaries of his artistry.
Right.
And trying to like push and get that new sound. And he didn't want to be put in a box. And I love this era of Marvin Gaye because, like you said, he was experimenting with instrumentation. There's a ton of like just viral video clips of him and his band just going on just like jam sessions outside of the track, and just like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. But no, that's a great choice, Ebonie. I was very impressed when we were talking, and you were like, yeah, this song is something special to me. So
yeah,
obviously,
one of my favorite songs.
So obviously, you're working at Atlantic Records, and you're getting, the opportunity to work with just different top level talent. And what was so impressive about your discography and the tracks that you've worked on is that it's various genres. You're not stuck in one box, and I love that. Especially as an African American woman, you have not been pigeonholed. You have continued to just evolve and push and just work on just different genres of music that I think speaks largely about who you are as a talent. So the one song in particular by Jason Mraz, I was introduced to him in college by a friend of mine from Kentucky. And I don't know about Jason Mraz. I know 3-6 and hip hop and R&B and soul, but I don't know about this folk pop sound. And I became a fan. So I was just shocked when I found out that you had worked on music with him. So let's play a little bit about From Have It All by Jason Mraz first, and then we can kind of dig a little deeper.
Nice.
May you have auspiciousness and causes of success. May you have the confidence to always do your best. May it take no effort in your being generous, sharing what you can, nothing more, nothing less. May you know the meaning of the word happiness. May you always lead from the beating in your chest. May you be treated like an esteemed guest. May you get to rest, may you catch your breath. May the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Whoa. May the road less paved be the road that you follow. Oh, well, here's to the hearts that you're gonna break. Here's to the lives that you're gonna change. Here's to the infinite possible ways to love you. I want you to have it. Here's to the good times we're gonna have. You don't need money, you got a free pass. Here's to the fact that I'd be sad without you. I want you to have it all. I want you to have it.
Oh, talk about layers. That's a great song, Ebonie. I really love that song. And the fact that, again, going through the credits, there's a lot of talent, but lo and behold, we see somebody familiar. Talk a little bit about your role in this song.
So my role was very special. I came in towards the end of the song. Jason was in New York and popped into the studio to finish the song. Much of it had already been recorded, but he needed to redo the bridge and some of the verse. And he also had to put all the backing vocals on the song. So I was the engineer that came in towards the end to do that, to facilitate that, and to help with some vocal production as well. So I think we did it over, it might have been 2 days. I think it was 2 days we did it over. And he had Rain and Jane come in, which I was very excited to work with them. I'm a big fan of Rain and Jane, his backing band, all female backing band. And I'd seen him out live with them before, and I just remember being so impressed with the chemistry that they have on stage. And way before this was a conversation, he was doing that work. He was being an ally in a very important way. So I was really excited to work with him for those reasons as well. And so we did I think we did a day solo, and then we did a day with Rain and Jane and wrapped a bow on it. And next thing I knew, it was gold. So
That's awesome.
That's the story behind it. And I got a chance to make the album, which is great.
Yeah. Kudos. So tell me a little bit more about Ray and Jay, because I'm not familiar, so you're educating me. Tell me a little bit more about the personnel.
Rain and Jane is Jason's. Let me look up all the names so I don't get them wrong. But Rain and Jane, I believe, is 4 women. 4, maybe 5. Jason's backing band.
Is it Mona? Is it these ladies that you see on the track right now? The Mona Tavakoli and Becky Gephardt, Mae Bloomfield?
Exactly. So I want to say they're 4 or 5 part percussionists, a few guitarists, and they go out with Jason. I saw them on two or three tours ago with him.
Okay.
And they really fill out his set and are just incredible to watch on stage with him. It's unbelievable just how much they add to his set. And so the women are Mae. She does Mae Bloomfield. I'm reading these lyrics, so I might butcher her name or two, but Mae Bloomfield, who does vocals, guitar, and cello. Then there's Becky Gephardt, who does bass, guitar, and sitar. There's Chaska Potter, who does vocals and guitar, and then there's Mona Tavakoli, who does drums, vocals, and percussion. She was of all the women, she was definitely such a joy to work with, and it's just great to have the experiences like that, because of the label I work for and the fact that they trust me with projects of that magnitude.
I bet. I mean, that's so cool that you can, again, like I said, you connect with people in different genres, but now you're, women who are doing impactful work in music, and you all are connecting with different cultures and building that relationship and that network. And those are the kind of connections that people don't see when they hear music.
Right.
And that's what we try to unlock with Deepr, is that, the people in the kitchen making the dish that you love, there's a lot of different nuances that are getting put together to make that sound.
100%.
And algorithms and AI can't catch that. It's connecting with the people behind the music and looking at their other work. And so I'm happy you gave me that insight, because that helped me understand a little bit more about the track as well. So thank you.
Right. Absolutely. No problem.
So obviously, you're in the midst working in Atlanta, and you get the opportunity to connect with a gentleman by the name of Lin-Manuel Miranda.
All right.
And you've done some work with him in some of the projects that he's worked on, but one in particular really stood out to me. And this was when, obviously Hurricane Maria decimated, the island of Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
I have a strong connection to Puerto Rico. My wife is from Puerto Rico, so I have a lot of family there. Mm-hmm. And when this song came out as a way to, help fundraise relief for the island, my wife was just very impacted by the song, and compelled her to try to do a fundraiser and do some things to help any way that she could as well. But I want to play this for you first.
Right.
Say it loud and there's music playing. Say it soft and it's almost like praying. It's almost like praying. It's almost like praying. It's almost like praying. It's almost like
Cabo Rojo, Corozal, Naguabo, Guaynabo, San Lorenzo y San Germán, San Sebastián, mi viejo San Juan, Isabela, Maricao, Fajardo, Dorado, Hormiguero, Sumacao, Trujillo, Atillo.
Vega, Baja, Toa Baja, Mayagüez. Otra vez. Aguadilla, Quebradilla, Guayanilla, Juanadilla, y Calle. It's almost like praying. It's almost like praying. It's almost like
Arecibo, Guanica, Culebra, Las Piedras.
Orocovis, Guayama, Gurabo, Maunabo, Aguas Buenas, Salinas, Río Grande, Sabana Grande,
Yabucoa, Florida,
Peñuela, Santa Isabel.
Naranjito, Barranquita, Carolina, ay bonito Bayamón, Rincón, Barceloneta, Las Marías, Comerío, Moca, Ponce, Manatí, así.
it's almost like praying.
So that song, obviously was taken from West Side Story and melded into a great kind of just this awesome all-star track. But how did it feel to be connected with a track that obviously, you know, coming from Memphis, Tennessee, was so impactful for the island of Puerto Rico? I think that was huge. So I'm proud of you, the fact that you're on this track. And two, I mean, again, there's a connection for me because of my family. Talk to that a little bit.
I mean, first of all, I'd like to just say very quickly that Lynn is a mastermind and is a genius. And I was thankful to be a part of a project that was conceived to help. It was conceived to do something about the devastation. I didn't know what we were recording. Right? It was just like, I don't remember what time we got started. I believe it was pretty late. I think it was like around 8 o'clock we got started, and you know, the studio was flooded with all the various personnel, and I was up to bat, right? And I didn't know what we were recording. I got the lyrics and the music, and it was all in Spanish, and everybody was speaking in Spanish. And I had to just perform, you know, like I didn't really have time to ask many questions at all, you know, but it was just time to go. So I stepped in that first night. I think we went till the morning. That first night we recorded Lynn quite a bit, and various artists went in and out. I ended up recording Dessa, Ruben Blades, Anthony Ramos, and I recorded Lynn, and I might have recorded one other person, but it was then flown to Miami. And I think some recording happened in LA where he could make it convenient for all the artists that were on the track. But on the New York side, I recorded Ruben Blades, Dessa, Anthony Ramos, and Lynn, and Alex Lackamore, I believe. Alex was producing, and Lynn was producing, and I was engineering and tracking. And it was just great because for me, Ruben Blades is one of my icons. He's a legend to me because of many things. First being Siembra, which is one of my favorite albums. Willie Colon is one of my favorite producers. So listening to Siembra, Buscando Guayaba, Plastico, all those records that really characterize my foray into music of Puerto Rico, essentially, and particularly the music that was coming out of the Fania All-Star era, the salsa era, the New Yorican salsa era, which was something that I studied a lot. And really, a lot of people don't think very much about the connection of that era with early hip hop because those eras dovetail into each other. So the salsa era dovetails into the disco era, which dovetails into the hip hop era. And also, you know, salsa coming from the New Yorican scene was very prevalent in the Bronx, which is the birthplace of hip hop. And you'll find this history of salsa records being sampled in a lot of the early hip hop music. Either it's the breaks or horns or, you know, some of the instrumentation. And so for me, between Hector Lavoe and Ruben Blades, Willie Colon, those are some of my favorite artists / producers. So when Ruben Blades came into the studio, I was done. Like I felt like if nobody else showed up, you know, like I recorded Ruben Blades. Like I used to listen to Siembra backwards and forwards. It was because he's one of the greatest vocalists, in my opinion, to ever do it. And to see him in the studio, just as humble and just so amazing and gracious and patient, was just a dream. And it has set a tone between him and Lynn, and generally how Lynn runs his sessions, which is with a lot of care, a lot of fun. He's always Lynn, you know, it doesn't matter who he's working with. He can be working with Busta Rhymes, he can be working with Ruben Blades, he can be working with Jimmy Fallon. He's always laying, always cracking jokes, always being fun, always making the work seem like not work, right? And that's because of his personality and his attitude. He's very collaborative and a joy to be around, but especially to work with. And so it was for me such an education, and it has always set the tone for the type of producer I want to be and the type of projects that I want to be a part of. So once again, I was very fortunate to be a part of this. And the icing on the cake was that it went to the top of the charts. Yeah. It was top 20 for about a week or two. And the icing on the cake was also that it was able to do so much for the relief effort, which is still ongoing. We should also acknowledge.
Yes, it is. The work is still not done. I know when I heard this track, I was like, man, he got J-Lo, he's got Mark Anthony, Ruben Blades, he's got Joel Ortiz, like Fat Joe. It's just, he had everyone on there. And the song is just fantastic. Gloria Stefan. It was definitely an awesome piece of history for Latinos as a whole. But I'm glad that you participated in that and were a big part of that. I'm proud of you for that. So awesome work. So now you are in a place of transition now. You're between New York and Memphis.
Right.
And Memphis has always just been a cultural hotbed of talent. Obviously, we're having a hip hop renaissance right now with Moneybagg Yo, Yo Gotti, Black Youngster, just so much talent. Pooh Shiesty coming out of Memphis. But now you're there on the ground level, and you're there interacting with this talent, and you have worked with some really talented young musicians. In particular, an artist by the name of Tangela. So yes. I would love to play this track and kind of talk a little bit more about this as well. We can talk a little bit about the Memphis scene as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm a lady and I like it real dirty. Yeah. Dirty. I'm a lady and I like it real dirty. Dirty. I'm a lady and I like it real. I'm a lady and I like it. I'm a lady and I like it real dirty. Dirty. Don't make me tell your ass again. I know you wanna pull up on this Memphis 10. I'm looking right, real nice, polite when I meet your king. Got the best advice when I'm with your friends. Let my freak flag.
So definitely, Ebonie, your beats are sick. You got that. I can hear that Memphis influence in them. The drums. Talk a little bit more about this project and just your experience, working with Tangela and what you're working on now.
Tangela is an artist I'm very excited about. She's a Berkeley College graduate, so I think that this first track is a fine introduction, but I don't think that it even mildly is a demonstration of just her breadth and depth as a musician, as an artist. She's finding her voice, and this project that she's putting out, dropping this summer, it's called Splendid Mind, and it's something that she mostly does herself. This first track that we put out together is the lead single that we're at the moment looking for playlisting opportunities and trying to really help build her fan base and build her name locally, but also in the region. But it's the first offering that we put together, and she and I have made a lot of music together, and she's one of my favorite artists. She's a phenomenal writer, incredible vocalist, singer, songwriter. In my experience, her true artistry is that, and her true gift, if I could say so, is certainly her singing abilities and artistic abilities, performance abilities. But I think more so than that, I think it's her writing abilities and ways that she finds how she uses words to translate the human experience. She can find a lyric that just cuts so deep and is just so sincere and is so honest, and it makes you almost take a step back and say, wait a minute, I never heard that said before, but I'm going to adopt it right now. Like, it's just, you want to like add it to your lexicon of things to say. Like, she's able to really put words together with melodies in such a powerful way, and her performance skills and vocal production skills really take it completely over the top because she knows how to carry it off, right? So she can perform as well as she can write, as well as she can sing, and also produce and engineer. So she has a really bright future ahead. This release was distributed by Beetroot, which is a local distribution company. So we're keeping everything local. It was also engineered by another woman in production, Amanda Davis, who is mostly known as front of house for Doja Cat and Janelle Monáe, but also mixes and engineers and produces when she's not busy with that. So this was an all-female collaboration on the production, on the writing, on the engineering, and I think it sounds fantastic. And these two women are two women I hope to be making records with for a very long time.
Oh, I love to hear that. I love to hear that, and it sounds fantastic. So I think this is just a tip of the iceberg for what's you guys are going to be developing. So kudos.
Absolutely, no, we definitely have big plans, and Tangela's a star. So. Remember that name.
Yeah, for sure. So talk a little bit, like just right now, just what you're seeing with the groundswell of just Memphis talent that's bubbling. When we were coming up, it was, obviously 8 Ball, MJG, 3 6 Mafia. Yo Gotti was starting to build a buzz as an underground independent artist. But now Memphis is just like, it's that spot. What do you think about what you're seeing?
It's great to see it, number one, because upon coming back to town, which I've only been in town for about 7 months, and upon coming back, the first thing I noticed was just the amount of overlooked, under-resourced talent. So now that there are eyes on the city, I do believe that you'll start seeing more infrastructure come down here. I'm here doing a bit of reconnaissance myself on behalf of Atlantic Records, and I think it was an excellent move because there's so much here to take full stock of, and it's relatively easy to move around Memphis. It's not very complicated. There are only so many studios, and everybody knows everybody. It really feels more like a music community and less of an industry. And I think with a little bit of industry support, these artists can really see themselves on a much larger platform without necessarily having to leave Memphis, because what has traditionally been the case is artists like myself, have had to leave the city, and hopefully things are developing in such a way that won't necessarily be the case anymore.
Agreed. Well, I'm glad you're there on the ground, and I look forward to seeing what bubbles up from just your work there. And so Ebonie, thank you again. As I told you before, I'm just extremely just proud and excited that a Memphis native is just doing such great work in the music industry, and for just women in the music industry as well with Gender Amplified. You walk the walk and you talk the talk, and sometimes that's hard to do. So I'll keep, supporting you, and Deepr is a big supporter of everything that you're doing. And we appreciate you joining us on Deepr Talk today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. And the same is true for you. Let me know how I can help everything that Deepr has going on. I'm a big fan.
Thank you so much. Well, this is the end of Deepr Talk. I'm Austin Webster, founder and CEO, and this is Ebonie Smith. We'll catch you next time. Okay. Take care.